Hey Trails Collective, Ian and Ellie here with this week's weekly rundown for April 15th, 2020. So this past week, Ellie and I have been doing what we can to be out here dodging coronas. So she's maintaining some social distance still here, doing our part. So she'll be weighing in with some of the rundown from her apartment. And I'll be coming to you here direct from where I'm based at the Finger Lakes Running Company. So this week I'm gonna just make it sponsored by Ron Herkins Jr., Photography and Goat Factory Media. Ron's a friend, part of the running community, and I've been hiring him to do my race photography for a number of my events for years. Given probably a good number of you out there are still under quarantine and maybe not able to get out and access your trails as you're maybe used to or would hope to this time of year, I'm also going to plug some of Ron's photographs as the backdrop tonight. In this case, we're going to start with Whiteface and be anchored in here by Jay Lamos over here, and I'll tie that photo in here in a second. So in case you just need some beautiful trail photography or images or inspiration in your life, that's what's going to be shaking back here tonight as well. So thanks Ron Herkins for all your work over the years. We've also used quite a bit of photography so far, and I need to constantly do more shouting out than I have to Mountain Peak Fitness and Joe and Elizabeth. Joe's been out there at a number of events over the years. Many people may know him. He does it for the love, not for the business angle of the footage, but I've used quite a bit in the video pieces that I've done for the Trails Collective so far. Joe, thanks for all that work that I'll continue to draw on for some of these videos. We'll get into it. Damn coronas. Let's see. So what's popping up on the media boards this week? There were several good posts on the Virginia Happy Trails Running Club Facebook. One was an individual plugging the Spring Sports. For those of you out there who don't know Spring Sports, they started making some very natural-based gels and energy consumables this past couple years. We've sold them in the shop. And they've done pretty well. They have a Spring Sports Springathlon virtual series of events, and including in the mix of the events there's a most gain, elevation gain in 24 hours, most gain in 26.2 miles, in 12 hours, who can hit the height of Mount Everest the quickest, and as much vert as possible on a treadmill. That latter sounds pretty awful, but I know that's what many people are resigned to, unfortunately, at the moment. But what I first thought of was Whiteface, and which is why I'm tying in this photo in the beginning. My kind of pipe dream, even despite my very much lack of fitness at the moment, would be thinking it'd be pretty amazing to head up to Wilmington and hit just multiple repeats of Whiteface. I think the record for the Spring Sports Duathlon right now is like 31,500 feet, I think, in 24 hours, I believe. I figured it would be a blast to join together with friends like Jay or on the ground up there, Jan Welford or Sarah Kais, and see if we could maybe just do, let's say, can we do 10 ascents of Whiteface in 24 hours? And given that the descents on Whiteface turn even the best mountain runners in the world's quads to jello, I figured that maybe it'd be kind of cool just to do the ascent and get a ride from the summit back down to the base and go again, and basically just try to do 10 ascents. Call me a wuss, but that just kind of sounds like a fun format rather, with an insane amount of climbing. I would guess somewhere over 40,000 feet. So I don't know whether that would be possible or permitted or under the radar, but it kind of sounds pretty cool. So that was kind of my vision. Another post on the Happy Trails, there was a Oiselle Athlete, Oiselle, and a women's apparel brand in running. For those of you who are not familiar with Oiselle, check it out. They make pretty nice products. There's a scientist from Colorado who did an article on a bit of the science of the viral transmission of COVID and weighing in on the various types of masks. I'll link it here in the notes if you want to check it out. some of the takeaways. She was still saying, still opt to spend time on your own, getting out there, obviously to do your part to reduce transmission. But she also said that if you are to wear masks, some of even the cheaper ones, people are wondering whether there's any maybe efficacy to wearing the buffs or some of the cheaper fabric ones, maybe making theirs at home. She said that they still may reduce transmission by 3 to 30%, but you have to be really careful to not be touching the front. Careful when you're taking them on and off, not to repeatedly use them, because then you're just kind of reducing the effectiveness potentially altogether and transmitting it in different ways. One of the her takeaways was, and I'll just read it here, the likelihood that you catch enough virus to make you sick while running outside and keeping distance from others is incredibly low. Additionally, it is not likely that wearing any mask, especially something semi-breathable like a buff, is helping to reduce the risk. So I brought Buff home to my wife this past week. Somebody in our community yelled at her for not wearing a mask when she was running. And so if nothing else, whether it makes a difference or not, maybe it's at least keeping the peace in the community. So that's out there. I'll put the link here if people want to look into some of her data and science a little bit more. It's a fairly interesting article. It's a pretty short read. Something else that was posted on the Happy Trails site was there's a kids virtual running series that was plugged in Virginia. Many of us as parents are feeling the, stress right now, having to juggle kids' schedules at home, being responsible for education at home, which sounds nice in theory, but it's kind of stressful trying to make it all work. So I think anything that can provide some structure, some program, some motivation for us as parents and for our children makes a difference. So I'll plug it here. It was just a series that they started for kids to either get out and run or do races, maybe get some prizes, awards, recognition, but it's some structure. So I sent it off to my principal, running friend from the PTA and a couple others. Maybe we'll see in our local youth bureau. We'll see if we can get it started here in the community. So I'll plug it if anybody wants to mirror the format in their communities. The Green Mountain Club, extending the topic of what's shaking may be helpful for the kids. Even though a lot of the trails are officially closed in the Green Mountain territory per the state mandate and quarantine, the Green Mountain Club is doing Facebook Live Friday mornings at 10 a.m. They're reading children's stories. So I'll plug a clip here. This past week was Where the Wild Things Are. So
and an ocean
need some entertainment for your kids. 10 a.m. Facebook Live, Green Mountain Club. Check it out. So that's some of what's shaking on the media boards. I'm going to have Ellie chime in here on the podcast news and take it away, Ellie.
Hey Trails Collective, Ellie here, and it's time to talk about regional podcasts and videos. We're going to start off with one that I really need to get down to listening to more, the CULTRA podcast. Their episode this week was called Running Virtually Self-Supported. The guys talk about staying socially distant, but still connected. Stay the fuck 6 feet away from each other, guys. It's not that hard. They're talking FKTs, virtual races, and they reveal the results of their CULTRA Strava Social Distance Challenge. Definitely want to tune in. The Pain Cave was silent this week, but come on, Jay, you're a doctor. Let's go. Get it out. Come on. Running Inside Out released 2 episodes this past week. I've had the chance to tune into the first one, If You Love Something, Set It Free, with Greg Castro. Greg works for Rochester Running Company. Chris and Greg talk about how the grocery stores also seem to be out of yeast and mozzarella cheese. So maybe everybody's making pizza, but if I were doing it, I would be making that sourdough bread, adding the mozzarella cheese inside the bread. Gotta try it. It's wonderful. Speaking of the Rochester Running Company, their newest event sounds pretty sweet. It's going to bring us all together. It's a community-style relay. So essentially, everybody, each person, signs up for a slot of time to run, and they're going to try to keep this relay going for as long as they can. Still going now, so sign up. Why not? Take part. It sounds really fun. The next one that Chris released on Running Inside Out was called Do a Running Thing with Chris Patterson. I haven't had a chance to tune into it yet, but it sounds pretty great. The Citius Mag podcast, one we haven't mentioned, is actually out of New York City. Host Chris Chavez interviewed Iron Mike Wardian after his quarantine backyard ultra finish. I really enjoyed listening to Mike talk about how he kept motivated, how he thought about quitting, and his wife was like, no, don't be a wimp, get back out there. And it really just sort of humanized Iron Mike because, you know, we look at him and he can do anything, but he had his struggles too. He talked about what he ate and how he was a little bit disappointed with how it ended, basically on a technicality, but hopefully he's gotten some sleep by now because when he was doing that podcast he hadn't slept yet. So great job, Mike, and he's out of DC, so always a pleasure to cheer an East Coast runner. Chris and my podcast, we have also released 2 episodes. The first one called Almost Normal, while I talk about Amelia and my quarantine backyard ultra experience and how it did almost feel normal, like back to having a community and what we all really like about trail running. I had a great time, and so you're definitely going to want to tune into that one. I also, if you're not a listener but a reader, I also recapped it on my blog at elliepell.com. The second one that Chris and I released, which drops today, it's called Feelings Are Real. We ramble a little bit, but we talk about how any emotion during this time, even if it's being excited, being happy, that's a fine emotion. And I find that for myself, sometimes I feel guilty if I feel happy or excited or something good happens. Like I should be very sad or whatever. But you know what? All emotions are real and they're all acceptable. And sometimes you just need a little pick-me-up in this time of grief. So we talk about that. We talk about how Chris get started running. We talk about the running we're doing right now. So it was a really fun episode. In YouTube, Life is Trail Running released another about half an hour of basically trail porn where they run the English's Ridge Route again. It's part 3 and it's kind of nice. I watched it while I was riding my bike and I was entertained for 30 minutes of basically just watching them run around. It was lovely. And that's our podcast and video news for the week. Back to you, Ian.
All right. And it was good to catch up with a couple of the entities that we've been acquainted with just through this process with CULTRA, as Ellie mentioned, as well as Mass Ultra, doing really good things on their end. It really is an interconnected community. We are indeed all connected by trail, so it's been cool to catch up with some of those individuals. So thanks for reaching out to us and connecting. So this last week, let's jump to maybe FKT news. This report came in from teammate and all-around just entertaining dude, Matthias Lipshitz. Woo! Didn't get that. Matthias Lipshitz. So here's his report on an FKT for the week. Clayton Bouchard, once the Wizard of Whiteface, fell into a period of destitution from lack of kudos on Strava. He was living a relatively feral life at the edge of the grid, calling himself Wolfman, and speaking in riddles, living under a bridge, and living on a steady diet of instant mashed potatoes and possum, when Matt discovered the fallen angel last year. Initially, he had mistaken him for a Susquehanna sequoia gnome. After a passionate heart-to-heart, otherwise known as intensive therapy, the Wizard of Whiteface defeated his inner demons and rose once again to lace his... Oh, Matt, I don't even know this word. Yorubu? I don't know that word. We're going to move on. Although these days he prefers to be known as Clarence, since the Wizard of Whiteface carried too much pretension. Anyways, he took the wizard out to Pennsylvania wilds and released him up on the bucktail path with a GPS collar. He is resourceful, choosing to drink out of puddles rather than dying of thirst. Miraculously, he carried no goose or nutritional sustenance, and instead chased down and ate 2 bobcats to fuel the FKT. He even managed to find his way home, like a well-trained pigeon. Thought he was going to have to pick him up alongside the road again. It would appear his internal compass had recalibrated, following daylight savings time. There is still much to learn about this fascinating creature. And to take us home, Matt came through with a solid clip on that FKT adventure. Take it away, Matt.
Oh, hey, Clayton.
Oh,
I've been looking for you. What are you doing over there?
just relaxing, chilling.
Yeah? You mind if I come over?
You know the rule. 72 inches away.
I wouldn't touch her with a 6-foot stick anyways. Hey, sir. Fine Appalachian trout hound you got there.
Oh, yeah. Yep. She caught 2 today.
Right out of this here creek?
Yeah, 2 natives.
What do you call it? Fishing creek?
Yeah, that's what we call it.
What are you reading, Clay?
I'm reading about Brenda's beaver needs a barber.
Oh. Why is that?
I don't know. I'm about to find out.
So tell me about your FKT.
Yeah, that was an adventure yesterday.
Wait, make sure that you can't touch me. I don't want to be too close. Alright, we're good.
You fine. Well, it was good. I saw 2 bobcat.
Tasty
ran out
sons of
water.
bitches.
But I found a stream, so that made me happy.
How about you get out of there and we'll go talk some more?
All right. Let's meet up.
Alright, I'm gonna go back over.
All right.
I'll see you up there.
Where?
The head of the creek.
Upstream.
Yeah, upstream.
Okay.
Always go upstream. Alright, I'm gonna see if it's any good here.
I'm here today with Clayton Bouchard, who has set a new FKT. As you can tell, we're 6 feet. That's 2 mitres to you Europeans tuning in with us. Probably none of you, but hey, if there are, just so you know, we're equal opportunity measurers. And I just want to ask, I have this megaphone because we're so far apart, but I just wanted to ask you, Clayton, tell me about your FKT. How was it?
It was good.
Yeah?
Sorry. Yeah?
Yeah.
And what the FKT was on the Bucktail Path.
Yeah.
I heard that you didn't eat any goose while you were out there. I heard that you
I chased me down 2 bobcats.
he chased down 2 bobcats. In case you couldn't hear that. How were they? Were they tasty?
They were raw.
By the way, this here is an Appalachian trout hound that we have with us today. You can tell because of the way that she is one.
Yep. She's a trout hound, all right. She caught 2 today, just like I got 2 bobcats yesterday.
What a pair. Well, hey, thanks, Clayton, for telling us about your Bucktail Trail FKT.
You're
really
welcome.
excited to be 6 feet from you and talking about it in the woods here.
All right.
See ya. Oh, you know what? I got something for you. Here you go.
Holy shit.
Congratulations. Actually, I'm gonna need that back.
Don't touch me with it!
Excuse me, does anyone know where the campsite is? I seem to have, I don't know where the campsite is. I seem to have taken a wrong turn on the trail. Hello? I was a member of Pack 69. We got lost out on a fishing expedition. Is anybody out there? So also on the FKT boards this past week, Connecticut FKTs were coming up and getting destroyed. Some back to back. Let's see, who was out there? Brian Vanderhayden and Alan Peck on the Saugatuck in 4:27. Sarah Connor in the Circum Saugatuck in 2 hours 15. Jennifer Stack on the Pomperaug Trail, 1 hour 48. Jimmy McCaffrey, Quinnipiac Trail, 8 hours 40 minutes. Kate Gallino and Andrew Warface on the Aspatuck Trail in 2 hours 44 minutes. Justin Kowski in the Saugatuck Trail in 3 hours 37 minutes. Lower in that, I don't know whether that was a different direction or whether they literally lowered it by an hour like the following day. But in any case, I don't know what's happening in Connecticut, but clearly people are getting out and doing some serious trail mileage. So y'all up in Vermont with your trails closed, maybe you need to head down to Connecticut for some trail mileage. As we mentioned, Clayton Bouchard nicked the bucktail path in 6 hours and 3 minutes. And Matt and Jillian Morgan took down the Anthony's Nose in 2 hours and 29 minutes. So pretty active FKT records this past week. What else is going out there? Cole Crosby, in an effort to raise some money for the New Jersey Pandemic Relief Fund, which we'll also plug here, just tried to put himself out there and go after his own 50-mile PR, which was 4:47. He hit a pretty blustery day. You can hear some of the wind in the clips. Some of the clips I'll play here. He fell short of his PR, came in still pretty fast for 50 miles in 5 hours and 51 minutes. Nice work, Cole. And so far he's been able to raise just a few $100s for the relief fund. So if you want to donate, check out Cole Crosby on Facebook. I'll see if I can plug the link here as well and help him make a difference in his community in Jersey. Some other trail community fundraisers. I'm going to have Ellie run through some of those. So Ellie, take it away.
This next segment, I'm going to talk about more trail community fundraisers. Now, forgive me if I just read off this note because there's a lot of information and it's all really good. But, I can't commit everything to memory. That ain't my job. The new Row Runners, the crew that puts on one of the largest trail runs in our region, the Pain to Pain Trail Half Marathon, and that actually typically registers 1,000 people. Now, the biggest trail race I've ever run was JFK, and that was like 2,000 people, and so I know what a lot of runners is, and it's a hefty job. So New Rochelle, which was the epicenter of the COVID crisis, the community in the news a month ago for being totally contained in quarantine, good job guys, they're going to match dollar for dollar any donation made to support their efforts in purchasing food from local restaurants to supply overworked medical and relief workers, which that's becoming a huge issue right now, is the medical workers that are supposed to be taking care of us are getting sick. So as of Sunday night, they had 168 donors contributing over $10,000 and their route target of $15,000. And you can chip in here at the link below, which Ian will list in the show notes. Another one, local here, the Finger Lakes Runners Club is doing a Trails Rock style COVID-19 mile fun run to save our shops, which our shop, Finger Lakes Running Company, which I've talked about before, and that's what my fundraiser went to support, is one of the backbones of our community. There's no cap to the number of entrants, and the goal is to raise as much money as possible to help Ian, my mentor, and one of the kindest people in this community. 100% of the proceeds, every single cent, from running this virtual event will be donated to the Finger Lakes Running Company and to be used as needed while closed under the New York State on Pause Act. Registration is now open. Also, we're going to link in the show notes the website for that. You can run a total of 19 miles during the week of April 27th to May 3rd. If 19 miles is too much, they also offer a 1.9 mile option and a 19K, which is 11.8 miles. They can be on roads, track, trail, treadmill, a Stairmaster, around your apartment, upstairs, climbing a house. That's all I can really think of right now, but get creative because we like to see that. And also we love your videos. So if you do anything cool, send them to us. It doesn't even have to be any on this run. Send us your videos. We want to shout you out. Walk, skip, hike, or bear crawl if you don't want to run. What's important is that we're paying it forward and giving back to the community. We encourage you to post pictures, recap your run, and, just shout it out. We really like to see it, and we will profile you here. It's wonderful. My last segment of the week is going to be called Catching Up with the Local Northeast Elites. This week, we're going to do Jason Mintz. Everybody knows Mintz. Everybody loves him. He's so photogenic. Just ask Ron Harkins. And I asked Jason what his season is looking like, what he was doing, what he might do later, and this is what he sent me. He says, I was signed up for Kettle Moraine. It was scheduled for mid-June and it has now been postponed to mid-September. I haven't signed up for anything else and it doesn't seem like many races are even accepting registrations at this point. To stay busy and entertained and somewhat fit, I've been trying to set other short-term goals. My latest goal has been run under 5 minutes in the mile, which I haven't done since turning 40. My first try ended in 5:19. Quite frankly, it was terrible. I think it had just been a minute since I tried to run hard. My second effort, the following day, was a 5:09, and there was a glimmer of hope. I really thought I had it in me on my third try, but I finished in a 5:03. I tried again today and took a DNF. Since there aren't really any races coming up, I'll probably keep playing around with short stuff for now. I'm not exactly fit, but I'm not exactly unfit. If things return to normal at all, I think I'll be able to get in decent race shape pretty quickly. Speaking of returning to normal, I'm keeping an eye on my Candlelight 12-hour and the Green Lakes 50K. And he says perhaps there will be a head-to-head matchup. If this is a challenge, I accept Jason Mintz, and let's throw down. And that's all you got for me today. So have a good night, guys.
All right. In other event news, Steep Endurance, an event company out of Connecticut, it puts on some really cool events or races. One of which I'm hoping to run and do a film project on, is the Macedonia Trail runs in September. I hope that still runs. They're launching into their own COVID-19K trail challenge. Registration is slated to be open until April 26th. I think they're gonna take the honor of the first entity to cleverly use COVID as an acronym. In this case, standing for Coronavirus Outdoor Virtual Independent Diversion. So for $25, each entrant gets a Steep Endurance Hydro Pack cup and a medal with a chunk of proceeds going to the Connecticut Food Bank. Entrants will additionally get an online coupon good for 25% off a Steep Endurance event in 2020. The 19K results need to be run or submitted by the end of April, and we'll plug the link here as well. So good opportunity for a lot of us as RDs. No doubt are going to have some low entrant numbers this year. A lot of events are going to be stacked into the fall. But here's a good opportunity to support a great entity, as well as get the funds out there as needed in the Connecticut community. So Steep Endurance COVID Trail Challenge, check it out. Athletic Equation, based in Virginia. They were the entity that was going to put on the Tammany 10, which I was slated to do in March. Many of us were before it was canceled. They are also putting on their own social distance ultra series. Individuals can pay $30. You run an ultra on your own terms and have the proceeds go to supporting printers, in their case, creating some of the swag for the event in their community, as well as some other local charities. A friend, Lou Donofrio, sorry I just butchered your last name, Lou, is hopefully going to participate on his own in this upcoming week, and so we'll hopefully share some clips from him next week. So get after it, Lou, and thanks for reaching out and letting me know. An Athletic Equation, thanks for doing it. CULTRA, the Connecticut Ultra Trail podcast crew, they're also in week 4 of their social distance challenge. This one they termed Becky's Challenge. And what it is individuals will do 5 miles with 1 minute of strength training at the end of each mile. The strength training could be squats, push-ups, lunges, body weights, mountain climbers, crunches, planks, burpees, whatever. Just get out of your comfort zone and do something that challenges you a bit otherwise. You'll submit your workout with strength exercises to the Facebook group site, which we'll plug. It's CULTRA, I think Fans of CULTRA or something to that effect, but we'll try to put the link in here. And you'll be eligible for some sort of fancy award.
Move it a little bit to the right. Yeah, a little that way. Just a little more to the right. Okay, more. That's it, though. Stop right there. That's wonderful. Hey, Park, what is that? Don't bother me now, sweet. Can't see I'm busy. Yeah, but what is that? It's a major award. A major award? Shucks, I wouldn't have known that. It looks like a lamp. But there's a lamp, you nincompoop. But it's a major award. I won it. Damn hell, you say you won it? Yeah. Mind power, sweet. Mind power.
The entire neighborhood was turned on.
Oh, you should see what it looks like from out here.
It could be seen up and down Cleveland Street, the symbol of the old man's victory.
If he won that, it's a major award.
And then cueing in to the format of Becky's Challenge led me to think of college teammate Andrew Weiser. He's done more CrossFit the past number of years versus running as much on his own. But each year for his birthday in February, he just does some crazy ultra endurance event that makes me, I don't know, shudder at the thought of it. So this year he joined us for a one of his token track workouts for our indoor track sessions. And he told me a little bit about what he was taking on for this year for his birthday. And it was, well, I'm going to let him introduce it here right now, but it's pretty crazy. I'm not sure what's coming from his clip, but just to let you know, it's basically a full mile of burpees, which is crazy. I don't think I could do 6 burpees, let alone a mile of burpees. So hopefully his clip reflects it. Take it away, Andrew.
Okay, so here we go, talking about the burpee mile. For my birthday, I've begun a kind of tradition of trying to do, well, I take the day off of work. I never work on my birthday. And I start the morning off with one grueling physical feat. So last year, for instance, I saw the CrossFit Games, and in that games, the athletes did a marathon row. So my grand scheme is I went up to Island, 7 in the morning, hopped in a rower, rode 26.2 miles. It took 3 hours and 20 minutes. I had to use bubble wrap on my seat because you're on your butt that long. And that one was a good one, but this year was the ultimate test. This year I did the burpee mile, and in the burpee mile, the goal is to do a complete mile where you do a burpee, stand up, do a broad jump, and then just repeat the process. Burpee, jump, burpee, jump. It's pretty cold out, so we decided not to do the jumps. Instead, we replaced it with 2 lunges. So we did burpee, right lunge, left lunge, burpee, right lunge, left lunge. So I had a buddy, Declan. We got up at 5 in the morning, middle of February, headed over to the high school, and basically began on the outside of the track near the entrance and proceeded to go around the entire perimeter of the high school. Just burpee, lunge, lunge, burpee, lunge, lunge. And it was awful. It took us 2 hours and 30 minutes. Basically, we would burpee and lunge for about 50 meters and then just pass out, laying on our backs on the ground. It was 25 degrees out. We were usually laying in a patch of ice. But ultimately, we finished it. It was a good bonding moment for both of us. Ended up being 800 burpees and 1,600 lunges. And yes, suffice to say, I spent the rest of the day sleeping and eating. So that was my burpee challenge. What happens next year, I don't know, but I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. If any of you wants to try the burpee mile in Andrew's honor at home, let me know how that goes. So this upcoming week, in terms of maybe trail workshop opportunities, the New York, New Jersey Trails Conference is holding a trail building webinar this Thursday, April 16th from 5:30 to 7. You can learn a little bit about what's needed to maintain and take over a certain section of trail, which I think is pretty important for us as runners to do. The link that we'll plug here in the notes will take you to the registration information. The link says the webinar is currently full, but it being a webinar, I'm not buying that. So if you're interested in learning a bit about what it takes to take on a trail section or maintain a trail, check it out and reach out to Kendra and Olivia at nynjtc.org, and we'll have it plugged. So thanks for New York, New Jersey Trails for all of the work that you do in giving us trails to hike, run, and otherwise enjoy. So, damn COVIDs. I'm going to close out this week with a clip from somebody in the Trails Collective. This week it's going to be from Ben Nephew, who with his family has been working on the trails behind his house for both running as well as mountain biking. And instead of running a bajillion loops, he's just getting out there and just playing as a kid would, just enjoying the time. And so in this case, it's going to be him on a mountain bike and just enjoying some cross training and being in the moment. So thanks for everybody for tuning in this week to the Trails Collective weekly rundown. Reach out to us for next week if you have any feedback, stories to share, thoughts on your own, links you want us to plug, and we'll try to remember to get it out there. So thanks again, and take it away, Ben.